I'd like to say good morning, St. Louis. Shout out to Georgia as well as Alabama, New York, the Bahamas, Oregon. My grandson Noah, Catherine, and Winton out there in Oregon. Love you guys. Florida, my daughter Zion and Gabe, as well as little Nile that'll be here sometime in October. Walter as well as Danielle. St. Louis, family in St. Louis, family in Florida, also Virginia and Chi-Town. I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm not going to talk long, but I'm going to take a few minutes and talk about things that I think will help us to understand why we're in the position in which we're in. And we're not able to comprehend the darkness in which has permeated society in such a way in which we're distracted from this truth. I'm going to read something. I think it's important. And I'm going to read it, but I want you to take a few minutes and to listen deep within yourself as to what I'm trying to convey. Time is one of the great mysteries of the universe. We are all swept up in the river of time against our will. Around AD 400, St. Augustine wrote extensively about the paradoxical nature of time. He said, "How can the past and the future be when the past no longer is and the future is not yet? As for the present, if it were always present and never moved on to become the past, it would not be time, but eternity." Now, I'm going to do what I can to try to break this down so you can come somewhat get an understanding as to what St. Augustine was saying back there in AD 400. Unfortunately, we haven't reached a level of development to know the truth of what we know, of what we must know in order to further advance our level of knowledge. When you look at time and you look at the present moment, but when you look at the present moment, you're no longer in that past. You're in the present. So in other words, you can never bring both together, present or past and future. However, if you brought them both together, it would be eternity. So in other words, there would not be a past nor a future. Now, if you think about that, that's very profound. But I'm going to believe that we have the ability to reach a higher level of awareness that will keep us in the present. And the past would not exist. So as a result, there would be no destruction. The laws of thermodynamics, entropy increasing, chaos and disorder will never take place. Because how can it take place if the past never left and the future never came? Subsequently, it will be eternity. So as a result, you're living in a higher level of reality. So as a result, sickness and disease wouldn't take place because you're in perfect light. Energy equals mass at the speed of light. So in other words, in order to bring forth the past and the future collectively together, you must reach E equals MC squared, which they think and say is impossible. But I want all of you to ask yourself this question. Where did you come from? In other words, where did the first being come from, the living organism come from? Did they come from just out of nowhere and popped into existence? Or is it possible they came from the past and the future and subsequently as a result, which is eternity, and as a result of not reaching a state of mind to stay in eternity, subsequently they start traveling towards the future. However, as a result of the future, that takes a tremendous amount of energy, which is going to cause them to deplete. It's just like taking an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The island is made of ice, and subsequently the temperature is about 200 degrees, and it maintained at that level, 200. So the island itself is starting to decrease or lose its foundation because of the heat. So as a result, it's starting to decrease in size. So based upon its decreasing in size, now we have the past and the future. However, if we were able to stop its decreasing in size, you would have eternity, because there will not be a force on that island. So in other words, the sun wouldn't have an effect on that island. So subsequently, the island would be in a different reality. So there would not be a time and past. So imagine yourself being on an island. And most of you know life expectancy. But imagine there was no time nor past. Subsequently, you will never decrease in power. And subsequently, you will create a perpetual motion machine. Not create, you will become a perpetual motion machine, to where you're not depending on the energy or any outside influences to give you power. So if you think about what's actually going on, I'm one to believe that the reason we are in the position in which we're in and we're blind is because we're constantly perishing. The Bible talks about a breach. Is it possible that we have not yet come to understand that we are capable of becoming that perfect sound, which literally will place us in eternity? That perfect light without blemish that will place us in eternity. No past, no future. And as a result of it placing us in eternity, then 13.8 billion years ago, as most physicists and cosmologists have came to the conclusion that that's when the universe was formed, would make us Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And as a result, we would have enough cognitive ability to be able to see and understand the world as it truly is, because we will not be decreasing as that island was decreasing in power, and subsequently it melted completely. No different than global warming. We've come up with these names to justify what is actually happening, but if we fix ourselves, there wouldn't be a need to justify, because we will be now in order and not in disorder. So as a result, countries, borders will come down. The Bible says not one stone will be left standing. Disease, murder, rape, pillage will be no more. We will be able to reach locations at the speed of light, basically saying that there would not be any more decay. And physics, as we know physics, will not be, because we wouldn't have a need for physics. And the reason being is because physics would have now been known as incorrect. Also, we wouldn't have a need for doctors and our lawyers, judges. We wouldn't have a need for prisons and our hospitals, because we would subsequently take a disordered state of humanity and bring them into order. And as a result, not one stone will be left standing. And as you see yourself now, you will see yourself that way no more. We must begin to understand that we unfortunately never knew that we didn't know. But the question would be, how can you know that you did know until you reach a level of perfection to now know? So I want you just to think about what St. Augustine stated back in AD 400. It made a lot of sense. I think it did. How can the past and the future be when the past no longer is and the future is not yet? As for the present, if it were always present and never moved on to become the past, it would not be time, but eternity. It's kind of powerful. I think it is. Not kind of, but that's powerful. So just take a little time out of your busy schedule, which I don't think it should be as busy as it is, in finding truth. I don't think there's one thing more important than finding truth, because everything else in which we've thought was true will perish. That includes relationships, things, objects, places, as well as time. God bless.